such a cute little dance you did there.
I was just doing a little jab.
You were.
I was driving into this delirious recording.
This is a delirious recording. Welcome back to another episode of Just Gay Stuff Podcast. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Jess.
We've been in the pod room a lot lately.
It's funny, we went from doing all of these interviews back to back and then back to just you and me.
I know.
And we've had to keep it fun for ourselves. Not that I find you boring, because I love you.
I was like, what are you trying to say?
But it's so different going from having a third to going back to just you and me.
Calm down. I think also, we've got a bit of a new normal going on and we're preparing for you to go away. So this episode, I don't know if it comes out when you're away or...
I don't know anymore. Let's just have fun recording it.
So the weather's been a bit somber and gross lately.
It's been pretty shit, let's be honest.
It's been pretty shit. And that kind of ties in with today's conversation topic.
So we didn't start. We ended last week's episode talking about firsts and we ended the episode on first...
Bad breakups.
Bad breakup.
Yeah.
And Lauren did a sneaky and said that you had to wait till this week until we spoke about it.
Yes, because I have a whole episode prepared. So yeah, when Jess said to me, well, what's the first bad breakup? Here's the sneaky thing. We love to get real and raw and vulnerable on this podcast. And I thought that maybe the listeners would get a bit personal. We've spoken a little bit about our own bad breakups on our very, very first episode. But I thought maybe we could do a little bit more of a deep dive and how ironically our bad breakups is what brought us together.
Yeah, well, it is what brought you and I together, but it wasn't our first bad breakup.
No, it wasn't. So do you want to tell the listeners maybe about your first bad breakup?
Like you said, no better place to start than with our own, right? My first really bad breakup that really affected me, I have to say, I wasn't even dating the girl.
Oh.
It was one of those situations.
A situationship.
It kind of was, yeah. But I don't know. It's hard to explain. Maybe I should just take you all the way back. So it started off with I was in uni. There was this girl in my class and it was a singing university. I'm not going to say any names or where I went or anything like that. But we were all there for performance. We were all there performance-based. We were all there for music. She was insanely good. I thought she was amazing. She was so captivating, not just in performance, but in personality.
Yeah, had that aura.
It was that thing, you're just drawn to somebody.
Yeah.
You know that?
I feel that about you.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Oh, baby. Oh, let's make it too
cheesy.
Cheesy. So it started with I thought that maybe, and I was out.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a big thing. I hadn't had a girlfriend yet. I had the situationships throughout high school and that was kind of enough for me. I'd never actually had a full-blown gay relationship. Anyway, we became friends very loosely. It was the people we were friends with, we were friends through them. And you know what it's like when you go to something where you're the only person, you try and make friends and then, so we loosely became friends and that quickly developed into feelings from my end. And I always kind of felt like she was very flirty towards me, but then she was also very flirty towards everyone. So it was really kind of hard to read. And especially when you're only newly discovering that maybe you would want to pursue a gay relationship, you don't really know if that person's actually interested in you or if that's just who they are.
I think it's so hard because, you can find people who often come off with a super flirty vibe towards everyone, but they just go, no, I'm just being friendly.
Yeah, and they're not actually interested.
Yeah.
Anyway, she ended up with this boyfriend who everyone believed that he was gay.
Oh, really?
And so it was kind of why is she with him? And she had said that they'd been friends since they were kids and he wasn't gay, or if he was, she didn't care. They were together, blah, blah, blah. It was a really weird situation. Anyway, her and I, we never hung out, just her and I outside of uni, but we'd go to these things and then we'd gravitate and we'd end up talking. And this one day in particular, we had skipped class and all of us had gone to the pub.
Yeah.
And we're just sitting there amongst people and she sat next to me and out of nowhere she said to me her boyfriend's name and she's like, let's call him James.
Yeah.
She said to me, James doesn't like you. And I was like,
what?
Oh, okay. Why? And she's like, James doesn't like you because he knows that I like you. And in that moment, I was like, she's kind of confessing to me that she has feelings for me. And I was kind of like, whew, over the moon.
Were you taken back?
Yeah, I was over the moon in a way, but then she was still in a relationship.
Yeah.
So it was a 50-50 thing. Anyway, time went on and nothing really came from it except this one day we went to someone's birthday party. And I can't remember whose it was, but we were at the same pub. And she came up to me at the beginning of the night and she was like, just letting you know, I'm not with James anymore. And then another friend was like, so you guys are going to kiss tonight then, right? Because she'd like obviously had enough because I'm a talker. So I had obviously like confided in this friend a bit. We ended up going back to the friend's house, like our friend's house that we went to the birthday. And we ended up making out on her couch. Like I was like, oh my God, this is happening. I've liked this girl for so much time. And it was kind of finally all falling into place. And then the next day, James picked her up from
what the
there.
fuck?
Yeah. I went home and I tried to text her and I was like, oh, you know, what happened last night? Like we only made out.
Yeah.
What happened last night? Do you want to take things further? Like I'd love to take you on a date. I did that stupid teenage thing where you just imagine this person in all aspects of your life and you're just like, oh, we could have so much fun and we could have such a good life. And, you know, all those silly things that you do when you don't realize how heavy relationships can be. And she just texted me back, last night was a mistake and I am actually going to be with James. I was devastated.
What the fuck?
I was absolutely devastated. I remember
She took you for a complete fucking ride.
didn't stop there. Didn't stop there.
Fuck. Okay.
We would then go out to places like all the time and I was seeing other people. And I remember this one specific night at the Beat. We were sitting there and I was drinking with this girl who I was loosely seeing and she was there. This girl was there, the one that like,
stuffed you around.
Yeah. And she was sitting across the table from me and she said to me when the girl I was there with went to the bar, she's like, you can do so much better. And I was like, what? Like you who took me for a ride? Like she would continuously say these things to me and like undermine the relationships I was trying to make. She would make passes at me in the hallways of uni. It was really hard to navigate. It was like such a mind fuck and I couldn't like get past that. And then this literally went on for 2 years.
Jesus Christ.
It was crazy. And I remember the very final thing happened. We were down in like the rehearsal rooms because we had to form bands and rehearse in bands. And then this one day she waited around until my band practice had finished. And this is like almost 2 years later.
Yeah, Jesus.
She waited around, pulled me out of my band practice. And this is like she was no longer with James. She was dating someone else now. She continuously told me that she liked me, but she would never date me. She would just date all these other people around me. And that was really frustrating.
Kept you on the hook a bit.
Yeah. She just basically said to me at the end, I like you, but I can't be with you.
What?
So like after all that time where she could have just said that at the beginning.
Did she ever say why she couldn't be with you?
Nope. I think her family might not have accepted her.
Yeah.
But I never got that vibe. Her family were always quite hippie and accepting, like I thought, but you know, you never know
you don't
with
know
somebody.
someone's dynamics, yeah.
Anyway, that was the most hard thing. And then we kept in touch loosely because of Facebook and things like that. You know, you can keep connected with these people. And I never really thought much of it, but it was kind of like a few years later, or maybe it was only a year later. I can't remember the timeline after that.
Yeah.
When Facebook Messenger was like the little pop-up box, and if you weren't online, you never really got the messages.
Yeah, you had to like poke people to pay attention.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
This one time we were messaging and just like, hey, how you going, blah, blah, blah. And we got into a bit of like a deep conversation. And then I had signed off and she had sent, I love you.
What?
And then I don't think she thinks I ever saw that.
Really?
Yeah. But that has been like my first worst breakup experience that wasn't even a breakup because we weren't even together.
Shitty situationship. I feel like a lot of people, and maybe our listeners can relate to that being stringed along, unfortunately.
It's just being taken for a ride.
Yeah.
It's so fucked up.
It is fucked up. It's sad.
Mm-hmm. So sad. And I can still remember the emotions now. Even when I've run into her years later, I've always felt like...
Do you have like that? Oh,
she always had this weird hold over me.
Yeah.
And I remember running into her in the Valley Mall one night when I was out with friends. It was weird. It was like one of those things where you talk about someone and then you see them.
yeah.
And I had
You manifested her.
I had said to my friend, if I ever saw her, I would tell her, or I would not be so taken aback by her presence now because I've grown and all these things have happened.
And then she appeared.
She literally appeared and I couldn't say a word.
Yeah.
It was like she just had this hold over me and that lasted for so long, like the weirdest thing. But it was definitely the standout when you said, let's talk about first bad breakups.
Yeah.
That is literally the standout first bad breakup that wasn't even a breakup.
Jesus.
It's pretty bad.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That's
Everything happens for a reason to lead us to
it does. Everything,
where we are.
Everything does happen for a reason. Yeah, like you said, we get to where we are
Yeah.
eventually.
What was your first bad breakup?
See, my first bad breakup, I was the one that did the breaking.
Oh no, this is the other side of the coin.
Okay, but I have good reason. Like I only was like if our listeners had listened to our very first episode, my first partner I was with, I was 20 years old. And I was with him for 8+ years. And that was a very toxic relationship. He suffered from a mental health issue, which I don't have anything against that. I also suffer from a mental health issue.
Depends if you're going to help yourself with it,
Yeah,
though.
of course.
Especially if it affects you terribly and the people around you.
Yeah, and so he would never take care of himself in that way. And I forcibly had to make sure that I was taking him to the hospital or getting his medication or...
You mothered him.
Yeah, I mothered him. And I remember this one time where I kind of got like really scared was I couldn't drive, but I had a car and he could drive. So he drove my car and he started hearing voices. It was a 60 zone and he started doing 90 in the 60 zone, or probably more than that, honestly, with like all these roundabouts. And I had to physically scream for him to stop the car because I was in the car as well. And then finally he pulled over and then he threw the keys at me and fucked off, and I had to try and find him. And that was probably within the first 2 years of our relationship before he was put on proper medication.
Wow,
But
and you
then,
stayed.
Yeah, I know. But
Wow.
I was vulnerable. I'd never been with someone before. I'd never understood. Well, I still didn't understand then, but I thought that I had someone who finally liked me or cared for me or whatever.
And when it's first relationships, you just think that's normal.
Yeah, and I was very naive, very young-minded.
And you think that you being the best version of yourself is accepting somebody for how they are.
Yeah, exactly. And went on for 8 years, and it got to a point where he then also showed sides of gambling addiction, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, like anything. And that also put me in a bad way in the end, from someone who previously never would have been in that way. But I was so desperate to feel some sense of importance or some sense of love. And like I was very unhappy. You've seen photographs of where I was in that said relationship.
Yeah.
We all lived with my sister and her partner at the time. And so there was the 4 of us in the house. And it wasn't until my sister said, either you need to sort this out because I don't like the way he's treating you. I don't like how you're feeling, everything, you know, there's not right. You've got nothing to you, nothing to your name because of this person. And she could see the abuse that obviously I didn't know that that's what I was going through. And she said, look, either you guys would have to work out something and to move out together. There's no way in hell we could have moved out together because he had run me dry.
Yeah.
Or you just have to do something about it. And I remember it specifically because there would also be times where, because of all of his addictions and gambling and everything, he would piss off down the pub or whatever. And I remember this one specific night that made me so upset. It must have been my birthday or someone's birthday. And he was like, I'm just going to go visit my mum for an hour. Left. Did not come home till 4 a.m. in that morning. And I had no communication, no knowledge, no nothing. Oh, we can't afford to pay rent because everything's gone, because he bought smokes and drinks and gambled everything away. And then his hockey clubs and not hockey clubs, golf clubs and stuff. So I was like, I've just had enough. And this was like 8 years later. So it was 8 years of abuse and turmoil. And I remember going, okay, like after really having this serious conversation with my sister, and he had been gone. He was, again, quote unquote, at his mum's and was supposed to be at home a certain time and wasn't. And he came home and I said, oh, can we go for a drive? And we just went up the road and I was like, look, I love you, or what I thought was love at the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I can't do this anymore. I was like, physically, mentally, emotionally, everything, I can't. And he was very good at using his mental health issue as a sense of manipulation. So he tried to pull on that drawstring of, if you do that, how will I survive? How will I help myself? How will I this? Yada, yada, you're the only reason. And I was very shut off, and I was like, nah, I've like
such a bad position to try and put someone into, hey.
I was very like, nah, I'm done. And then he left, went to his mum's or something. I don't know what happened to my car. I must have got it back at some point. But yeah, he just did everything. Well, actually, I don't even think I got my car back at one point. I think he ended up selling that car that I had and bought a car. And after that breakup, I was done, and he moved out and then never spoke to him again. And I think, yeah, that was probably my first worst breakup.
Do you have like dry throat from saying all that?
Yeah.
Because I had like anxiety dry throat from even talking about mine. It's like brings back all this anxiousness. And
I think I have more anger for the first same-sex relationship breakup. To me, the same-sex relationship breakup hurt more than the...
I mean, same, but we were talking about first.
Yeah. So, yeah. No, I feel all hot now.
Do you? All hot and sweaty.
And I was like, hot, not in the good way hot.
At least your breakup and what you had to do through it was for your own well-being, and you finally put yourself first after enduring all of that bullshit.
Yeah.
Anyone who's listening that feels like some of these things that we're talking about is hitting home, maybe there are some discussions that you need to have, because in a relationship, we need to be 100% equal partners. We need to be trying for the same things. We need to be working towards the same goals. And yes, we're allowed to be different. Of course you are. But there's a difference between compatibility and having that compatibility and blatantly disrespecting someone else's wants and needs.
Yeah, I think it's a sense of communication, being able to communicate. And I found that, I guess, with both previous partners, male and female, there was a lack of that communication that wasn't there, that you and I definitely have. Clearly, we run a podcast.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd be willing to like really delve into my first gay breakup, my first same-sex breakup. That was really bad. I've touched on it in small amounts across the podcast, and people know that it was pretty bad and it was a cheating situation. Maybe further down the line.
Yeah, that's okay. That's fine. I think we've spoken a bit on, our first bad breakups.
Let's delve into someone else's.
Yeah, let's go into someone else's now, I think. All right, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's lay it on me, because I'm sure these are going to be pretty fucking terrible.
So similar way to the way that we reached out for the worst first date stories. Again, we put up another thing saying, hey, tell us your
bad breakup
stories. And there were a few doozies.
So everyone really delivered.
All right, so this one is from C. My ex punched me in the face on 2 separate occasions. The second time it happened, I told her to leave and not come back. It was a really bad breakup, and I am barely over it 5 years later.
Yeah, I wouldn't be either. If somebody is really invading your space with violence, that is really bad.
Yeah, that's not good.
It's not good.
I'm glad that you're okay, even though you say that you're barely over it 5 years later, and that's understandable. That's fine. But I'm glad your safety and well-being is okay.
I'm glad you were here to write us this.
Yeah, that. And I'm glad that you had the respect enough for yourself to tell her to leave, and not in the way that I didn't have that respect for myself. This next one is from S. How does my ex both dating me and her ex without me knowing at the time sound?
Sounds pretty bad. That sounds pretty bad.
Yeah.
So your ex was dating you and her ex at the same time.
Yeah.
Anything that is dishonesty and not open communication is bad.
How do people do that though? Like, I don't have the brain power to...
I have said this in regards to my bad same-sex relationship breakup, because it was a cheating case.
Yeah.
I can understand people being human and making mistakes. I can't understand blatant disrespect for somebody who you apparently care for.
Yeah, especially if the words love or in love are thrown around.
And look, I know that love looks different to a lot of people. It's not black and white. Relationships aren't black and white. That's why we have communication. That's why we have all these other versions of a relationship. We know that relationships these days don't have to be just between 2 people, or you could be married and not live with your partner.
Yeah.
There are all these new norms that you do your relationship
your way.
Yeah, whichever way you see fit, as long as you are both in it together.
Yeah. Again, as we say this whole time, open communication.
And when I say both, I don't mean there has to be 2 of you.
Yeah.
As long as you are all in it together and on the same page, that's all that matters.
Yeah. All right. You might want to settle in for this one, because it's a bit of a long one.
I love a good story though.
This is a story. All right. This one comes from P. I met a girl on Reddit.
Oh, red flag there.
We clicked through a lesbian gamer sub. We hit it off right away, and in true lesbian fashion, we rushed into things.
Yep.
After the first week of being together, the passion and fire we had in the beginning really wasn't there anymore.
Wow. After the first week, it wasn't there. Geez, run.
Yeah. Flame went out quick. But I was determined to give us a chance and try by spending quality time together, talking about things I really didn't like and what we needed to improve on to make our relationship work. That's fair because communication is key.
Mm-hmm.
Because they've got in brackets, now former partner had untreated BPD, I tried to approach the subject directly on how we could improve, adding role play, different communication, etc. She always defaulted to me to make every decision in our relationship, which made me a bit uncomfortable. And when I said we would work it out, she spiraled and it got worse from there. She started blowing up my Discord, aggressively started name calling me, always inventing problems, cursing me, degrading me, all because I wanted to spend more time together.
Man, she just wasn't into you and just didn't want to tell you.
She wrote me a text and then deleted it and then said her emotions were out of control and she needed to call me. And when I spoke my truth, she tried to guilt me by saying she was self-harming and it was my fault.
No, if you're self-harming, that is no one else's fault.
I called the cops to do a welfare check, because she was in a relationship trying to make it work and because she was a decent human being.
Mm-hmm.
Her mother then got on the phone and cursed me out and called me names and harassed me for doing a wellness check on her daughter who was self-harming.
Well, there you go. That's the reason. Look at the learnt behavior.
Yeah. That was the end of the relationship and I am happy being single for a little while longer.
Yeah, I think being single is way better than enduring that.
Girl, you dodged a bullet.
Yeah, look, if you feel the flames going out after a week, don't
try and force it.
Don't force anything. I think if anything is forced, then you're wasting both of your time and the other person's time.
Yeah.
And time is precious. Everyone, time is so precious. You can be here today and gone tomorrow, and sometimes that just rings true all too often. So do not waste your own time and someone else's. Just go with where the joy takes you.
Yeah. All right. This is another lengthy story. This comes from N. My ex and I were best friends who started dating our sophomore year of college. Oh, I love our American friends. I believe that we were the real deal after we graduated and got engaged.
Cute.
At this point, we were together for 4 years. I always wanted to get my PhD and ended up taking up a spot across the country. We had plans to travel together. We packed up our entire house and our life and moved it all to the new state. She was planning on joining me after a few weeks, but was finishing up her work season. Fair.
Mm-hmm.
After I had been there for a couple of weeks, she called me and she said that she wasn't going to move and also had doubts about the relationship for the past 9 months. Timeline, putting this at 2 months before she said yes to marrying me.
Wow, okay.
She had never mentioned this to me and I was completely blindsided, thinking we were planning a life together and she was planning her exit. She also said, I know you always said that you believed I was your soulmate, but I have never believed you were mine. So what the fuck?
Why would you agree to marry someone who you didn't think was your soulmate?
I don't know. She started dating someone that she eventually married literally within a week after this, lol, which clearly meant so much to her.
That tells me that they were already seeing each other behind that person's back, because essentially that is what happened to me.
I was going to say, I felt a lot of
that rings very true
to both of our
previous experiences.
Yeah, previous experiences in that one. I was like, oh.
I think 9 times out of 10, if somebody moves on so quickly from you after a long period of time, they were already dating
together.
that person.
Yeah,
yep.
Wild.
Isn't that sad? We both have the same view.
It is sad, but that's what we said in the beginning. That's how essentially we trauma bonded and came together.
Well, we both went through similar experiences and that really fucking sucked.
It did.
Here we are and now we have each other and I
thriving
could
podcast.
not be happier.
Either.
Yay.
Oh, cute. All right, this one is from D. 7 years ended with an early morning voicemail message. Oh. If you're going to break up with someone, don't do it over voicemail. I've always assumed it was the morning after she fucked the guy who's just a friend. Haven't seen her once since.
Wow. Ouch.
Oof.
That also rings true to me because that hurts my soul.
Yeah, sorry.
I think it's that thing where you always have these gut feelings and you bring them up with your partner because you believe they'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
And then they just
lie to your
all
face.
These lies, and then the truth always ends up coming out. I think that's what you have to remember. If any of you are cheaters out there, that I hope that you are.
I hope that you're not, yeah.
But each to their own. But I'm just saying, if you're hurting someone else in the process, it's probably not a good thing to do.
No.
The takeaway is that honesty always rings true. The truth will always come out. And honestly, if a situation is bad, let the situation be bad.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than trying to cover that situation up with lies and deceit, because
It makes it worse.
that person finding out what's happened after the lies and deceit is 10 times worse than the initial bad situation.
Yeah. I think that was another thing that we agreed on was, yes, the whole separate situations were shit, but it was more the lying side of things and the deceit that happened afterwards.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. These have been some heavy conversations. So I think we have time for maybe one or two more.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. This one is also from D. She was cheating on me with another dude for about 6 months. She broke up with me 3 months later. They were engaged, and 10 months after the breakup, they were married.
I hate that.
And I was planning on asking her to marry me. That one hurt more than the chick who told me she was pregnant while I was in Iraq. Then the next day told me it wasn't mine, all through an email. Years later, she tried saying it was mine, but I demanded a paternity test. Nope, not mine.
Wow, that's really shit.
That's
really shit.
That's so shit. This one is from G. Got pregnant and convinced me it was mine. Supported her through the entire ordeal, thinking I had added to the teen pregnancy statistics. Her mum comes to the hospital and sees the baby and then immediately goes, "That baby isn't yours. They're Hispanic, I'm black." She insisted the baby looked white. It didn't take long for her daughter to break down and admit to sleeping with her dealer for free product, and they didn't use protection. Was really fun explaining that one to my mother.
Oh my God. No.
That was not the breakup story I was expecting to read.
That was a bloody banger to end on.
Yeah.
Like, no pun intended there. Far out. Oh, shit. Maybe one day I'll feel comfortable enough to really delve into my long-winded.
Yeah, I think you and I could go on like a whole episode just on our...
Let's write a TV series. That's how long it would take.
Just on our own bad same-sex relationships.
Yeah. I mean, they weren't bad while they were happening, I have to say.
No, I know.
I'll give my ex-partner some credit there.
I meant breakups, not relationships. Because, yeah, same. I think it was just the blindsidedness of the ending.
Yeah. Well, if anyone has actually had a really bad breakup and wants to write to us, we will be doing a second episode of this eventually.
Eventually, yeah.
So we hope that you enjoyed whatever time of the day it is that you're listening to this today. One thing that we don't say enough on the podcast is remember to follow us on socials. Remember to rate us on Spotify and on
Apple or whichever.
Yeah, whatever streaming platform that you use. All of the ratings, all of the subscriptions, all of the follows all really help us to get out there. And if you're really enjoying what we do, then obviously like that would mean a lot to us.
Yeah. Plus you can always hear us on Joy or...
Yeah, don't forget
whenever.
Joy FM Mondays, 10 p.m, 94.9.
I think that the great thing that you said was for everyone to follow us on socials because we're quite active on there actually.
We post something nearly every day.
I think people don't realise that we're there. We try and communicate and talk to each one of our listeners.
We post snippet after snippet after snippet, all the little good parts of our episodes. So get on there and jump on there and be a part of all the fun with us.
And if anyone who has listened to this has struggled with anything, just know that you're not alone.
Reach out with your own bad breakups.
Yeah. All right. I think that's where we'll end it and say goodnight, me.
We will say, well,
not good night.
Because we're recording this at nighttime, we can say goodnight. Well, that's us for this week. And so until next time,
remember to
stay gay, motherfuckers.
I'm talking about, you're talking about, we're talking about just gay stuff.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Just Gay Stuff. Make sure to follow us at Just Gay Stuff Podcast on all your socials and write to us with your stories at justgaystuffpodcast@gmail.com.